Everyone, RemanX here, and we've got some brand new news for you. Looks like the Uncanny Xmen got a minor rework in some categories, and we're going to go through this because now that Magic is here, it's time to take a look at where Xmen is going to position themselves in the current meta. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of the changes here and go through this in detail and hopefully give you some insight as to what I'm thinking and hopefully get some testing on the ground when the patch goes live on Wednesday. So first things first, Storm is relevant again, and mainly because of the charge mechanic. So we're going to go through this. So her base health stat got an improvement of 9. Don't focus on that because there's some other reworks in the system here that'll help you understand what's happening here. And increased her base armor stat by 62%. So it took her away from being that glass cannon per se. Now with all those charges, some of her things got reworked, and one of the biggest things is her special no longer can be counterattacked. That's a big deal, meaning that on some of the current metas and some of the old metas, the counterattack would be something that would kill her if it didn't land. But more importantly, the attack at 20 charges for her ult cannot miss. So people ask me, like, why is this important? Well, so miss specifically is the blind state. That is when, think of it like crossbones, that's when miss is affecting accuracy. So that's a big deal. And then you'll see that she gets the, on turn of Magic as an ally, gain +3 charged up to a maximum of 20. So she's going to get quite a bit of energy from Magic to go through this here. And so she still has only the base chance of 50% to apply speed up and the assist now, and that is actually pretty devastating and can be random. And I guess with the power of nature, it was randomized, and so that's that. Let's talk about Cyclops. Cyclops also had a health stat increase of about 10%, and so let's just take a look at this. So if you look over here, the call allies, now it's call 2 random allies, which is probably a nice buff to Cyclops, to attack one of the previous enemies and then attack the primary target, and then also another counterattack, cannot be counterattacked. You know, basically they're special ops with Magic. She's preventing them from being counterattacked now. It's again, because of the number of counters that we've seen on teams, this is a big deal. Specifically, I think when we break this kit down, you're starting to see a thematic team that they seem to counter, and I'll get into that in a minute. Okay, and so more importantly, you'll see on turn, if this character has 20 charge, gain 2 ability energy. Now what's interesting about that is basically it seems like he's going to be able to do his special a lot more frequently, and so that the idea behind that is that his passive is giving him more energy to basically be the leader on the field. So thematically, it makes sense to me that special, to me, you know, is gonna feel like he's issuing battlefield commands, and so and to be clear, that's actually pretty devastating because you're going to be able to apply taunt to the non-injured, to the most injured enemy. All right, let's get into the nitty gritty because there's some big changes coming your way, and neither one of them are Storm or Cyclops. It's actually Colossus. So Colossus gets a massive rework. Okay, and by the way, you can see the Magic gets the Wolverine call out, so that's a big deal too. So when Phoenix dies, Magic gets that extra bonus too. Okay, so it's basically Magic takes that Wolverine bonus that we had as part of that 5th member. So that's really cool in that it is Magic is supporting the Phoenix Force. So thematically cool. But Colossus got a huge buff, and you're like, well, Rem, 10% base health, that's not a big deal. Well, there's a couple of big changes here. You can see the passive. So Phoenix or Magic, you actually have the option to kind of switch them out a little bit. You can gain defense up for 2 turns, and then, you know, you have the negative effect here, what was there, okay? And then the old, shouldn't have referenced Magic here. So Phoenix, Dark Phoenix is now, I gain taunt for 2 turns, so it looks like they're gonna get that right away for the taunt. For Dark Phoenix too. So it used to only reference Phoenix. So basically protecting Phoenix. It looks like it was something that wasn't in there for a while. I thought it used to do it for Phoenix too. And then this is the big changes in this passive. And when I say big change, it's significant in my opinion. He has a reciprocal attack. It basically is, if when attacked, when charged, he does some significant damage. But the way that it worked was interesting. It was only on negative effects. So here's the big difference, okay? When a negative effect is applied to an Xmen ally, gain +1 charged, okay, up to 5. Okay, while charged when attacked, this attacks the enemy for 100% piercing, plus 10% piercing per charged. So there was a limiter on charges for Colossus based on, right there, guys, his own passive was stopping that increase at 5. Magic is going to make that considerably more powerful. More importantly, on turn, if this character has more than 5 charged and below 80% health, heal for 20% of this character's max health, and lose 5 charged. So basically, he's going to have a little built-in engine to keep healing himself up for 20% of his max health. Now, we saw that he got a small increase here, but there's something really, really big in his passive. All right, it goes from 15% all the way to 30%. So there's another 15% cooked into the passive on Colossus, making him probably one of the top tier heals in the game. So let's talk about why this happened. This team was just neutralized by Kestrel. So Magic's placement on the field means that wherever they were in your meta, Kestrel is no longer just a simple solution. More importantly, the amount of counters that you were getting from like Captain Sam and the like is important to understand that this team seems to be able to match up against that other team now a lot more efficiently. Again, I still think that, offense versus defense in war or in that matchup, there'll be some favorable situations because literally, I think when it comes down to removing the taunt and defense on Colossus, it's still going to be relatively easy for Sharon Carter to remove that. But thinking about thematically how these position now, or more importantly, mechanically, how these position against each other now, it isn't just a straight, it's going to be an easy fight. The fact that Phoenix will appear on the field as long as Magic is alive, even if you've stopped her from summoning, means it's a big headache for that team, because then even with all their buffs, all their stripping, they still have a chance to lose. The early stun from Storm will be at the very least annoying, or the early ult could be potentially devastating. And so all of these things factor into whether or not we see Kestrel still countering this team. And it should be fun patch day. We're going to go through a bunch of tests and try to figure out where they fit in the meta. So we had a conversation with the developers, and developers were relatively open about, where these guys fit in. And they said, and I think this is something we want to talk about, that while they may not be the number one team, they definitely are a lot better. And so for me, this feels kind of like when they added Beast to Xmen, and suddenly he was the Xmen team was a phenomenal mark counter. And so it feels like they've adjusted it so that certain counters no longer have an easy approach on them. So the question is, does this make Xmen a top 5 war offense or war defense again? And again, that'll remain to be seen when we get Magic on the field on Wednesday. And I think it's important to also note that they actually said that they're looking at how the power levels and the power tiers have just consistently been increased, and we may see more teams and more reworks like this. But by the way, guys, we aren't done with rework. Stay tuned for the next video coming out shortly here, and I think this rework was ravaging, and we'll have to stay tuned. Love you much. Remember, I do things so you don't have to. And let's go take a look and see what I've started doing here. Oh man, this is yeah, I started working on my Colossus, on my Storm. This should be interesting to see how this actually, winds up being a factor. And I gotta wonder where Cyclops goes. I'm sure the rumor mill is cooking with where she'll be. But again, we'll see what his actual numbers wind up being when all the changes to his passive take place. See you soon.